or something.
All right, good evening. Welcome to our City Council meeting this May 20th, 2024. First off, I'd like to share our community suffered a tragic loss of 2 Daniel students this past weekend, so please keep their family and friends of these young men in your prayers, and let's our community be that we can lean on our community that they can lean on us and within this community. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Catherine, will you lead with the invocation and pledge, please?
I'd like to bow your head in prayer. God, our Creator, we turn our eyes to your mercy in this time of shock and loss. Comfort our community as we mourn and shine your light on those whose only companion is darkness, and teach us to apply our hearts to your wisdom. On this somber day, we remember those who were gone far too soon. They now rest from their labors, and we lift up their families to you in their time of need. Let us take a moment to remember those who have loved and served you on earth. As we navigate this journey, may your light shine through the cracks in our broken hearts, reminding us of your eternal love. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Our first item on the agenda tonight is public session, and just a reminder that Mayor Pro Tem is not here tonight, so I will be heading it up. You have a 3-minute limit per speaker, and this is for items that are not under reports or policy, well, actually under policy action or other policy items. So we'll open public session at this time. So please come up, state your name, where you live, and again, you have 3 minutes.
Do you want comments now for what's in the report? Because I think Elaine.
All right, we'll do it at.
Okay.
Do it.
Okay. You want to do it at that point? Okay.
Yeah, I got that. All right. If there are no comments, and Jeremiah, I don't think we received any online that I'm aware of. Okay. All right. Next, we'll go into the possible approval of minutes for May 6, 2024. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move we approve the minutes as written for May 6th.
Second.
Okay. Any comments, discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Thank you very much. Next, we'll go into reports and discussion. The first is discuss amending the animal cruelty ordinance to include shelter guidelines for weather and temperature. Councilmember Brookover.
So this is something that we talked a little bit about when we did the tethering updates, what now, 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and finally circling back around to this. When we did that kind of opening paragraph to the cruelty to animals ordinance had a little bit of stuff in it that, you know, there's definitely still, and I think we're going to leave that in there, is the some things that look like it was written when we used to ride horses through town and that kind of thing. So just a couple clarifications in here. One, kind of in the same way that we talked about the rental housing ordinance and the improvements that we're talking about there, where I think we're talking about tonight being able to hand a violation to someone in the place other than the owner. Same thing, that people living in the same domicile as an animal can be cited. Clarifying shade, because that's something that we didn't do with the tethering and the type of shelter, and adding in some guidelines for temperatures as well, which are things that you know, from different veterinary associations and that kind of thing are in there, and some other cities and counties have added those. And again, these are meant to be guidelines that the police department can use, as well as, but more importantly, probably providing some training. And Margaret, I spoke with Margaret and with Elaine Mascari about this, along with the new vet at Clemson Paw Partners. And Clemson Paw Partners and the new vet are willing to put together some training materials and talk to officers to further, clarify what some of those signs of distress in animals might be. So that's the gist of what's being proposed here. And I think I've communicated with all of you all, as well as some folks in the out in the world as well.
Comments, questions for Bob?
What were some of the questions? I assume you talked to the chief, because when we had this discussion a year and a half, 2 years ago, some of it was about what you could do just simply by state law as well. I know I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry. I just remember your comments last time made a big difference, understanding what you could and couldn't do because of state law.
I don't believe the state law inhibits or prohibits. I think it's worded in such a way that gives allowance and judgment based on officer observations. I think we get into murky water when we start wording things in such a way that puts us in a corner and doesn't give us latitude. And I know it's worded as a guideline, but I would caution putting guidelines in an ordinance. That sounds more like a policy decision than an ordinance. Usually an ordinance is it prohibits something or it allows for something. And so maybe there's a different way to address that. The other thing is when we went through this for tethering, we addressed this as well because we did make revisions to this section, and we did have attorneys from the South Carolina Bar Association that is in a subcommittee for animal cruelty laws look at it, and a lot of what they recommended is what we included in our revisions in 2022. So if we're going to go down this road again, I would just recommend that we ask them again if there's any updates or anything since 2 years ago that would be more appropriate in an ordinance, as well as have maybe a community discussion, because some of what we discussed the last time came from the community, feeling like they were being put into a corner, and that it would affect certain segments of our community differently than others. So again, if we want to have that conversation and go down that road again, that's part of the process. But as far as I think the other discussion that we had when we started putting definitive temperatures in there is where we felt like we were getting boxed in. And I know it's in a guideline here because obviously, you know, we can make the argument. I remember
that temperature discussion, yeah.
Well, we can make the argument that some dogs inside of this temperature variance can also distribute in, you know, lethargy, shivering, and collapsing, showing that the animal's being taxed and needs to be charged accordingly. So I think that's where a lot of those discussions came from, and not trying to put us in a situation where people are going to split hairs over, well, it's 91 degrees and you've got to charge them. It's like, okay, it's 91 degrees, but the dog is having fun running around, chasing the ball. He or she is not, you know, lethargic or anything like that. So, and again, I like the guideline effort, but whether it belongs in the ordinance or not is something for attorneys to decide.
Well, I think that's where, you know, the idea of the breed and size of the animal and the signs of weather-related distress are going to be the main things that the officers are looking for. Because again, you know, a husky or a German shepherd might be in trouble when it's 80, 85 degrees, and a Chihuahua might be in trouble when it's 55 degrees. So for different reasons. So I think that's where, you know, that discussion of that and that sentence with the guideline on the thing means that it's just that, is that it's a.
So the other question I have that I'll point out here, and it's for discussion down the road, is I see a statement in here about a shelter not being in direct sunlight. But in a piece of property that has no shade and they own an animal, then how do they give them a proper shelter for shade? The way this is worded, it doesn't look like it gives that leeway. So that's why I say we need to have a further discussion to kind of vet some of this out, because I think I know where they're going with that wording. Certain shelters obviously should not be in direct sunlight all the time throughout the day, but it's worded in such a way that it may not give us a little wiggle room. So just open to just discuss that some more, that's all.
Yeah, because that's the real, when, you know, John and I you know, drove around. I know he did it on his own, we did it together, and I did it on my own a couple of times. Went around every road in the city in every neighborhood. And I saw more, and I know there are groups that thought that they were being targeted by this. I saw that issue where yard, no shade, and an igloo shelter, which is punishment, which is worse for the dog. And again, there's things there that you can, in reading and researching, that are like, that's worse for the dog, is a dog house with no shade is what cruel jailers used to do to people in prison. So that is the, thought process there, is that is worse. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I can say that, some of the dogs that, of people that were, that felt like they were being targeted were not in that situation at all.
And we do have people in town still that have other livestock animals. How does that apply? How do these rules apply to them? I know we're focusing mainly on dogs, but we have folks with goats, we have folks with horses and donkeys, and so we just want to make sure we're not writing something in here that might paint us into a corner when it comes to those animals.
Yeah, I would think that we need to maybe clarify that this is all animals kept in.
So what you're saying though is you would prefer, for example, where it says the temperatures and it defines them, where it might be, instead of an actual definition, it would be extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, would be better worded for you.
I don't want to be quoted on verbiage right now. I want to be able to digest this a little bit more, because I think it's worthy of a conversation, and there may be better verbiage out there. I know there are other ordinances out there too that address it differently. Some I don't like the way they're worded, and some of them. So I'd like an attorney to take a look at it, and that's versed in this area, to say this is probably what it should say.
Goal with this is that it's not a hammer for anybody, and but it also gives you all some tools as well to further clarify, appropriate. And as usual, first action would be education for the pet owner outside of extreme, situations, which I think, you all have done a good job of in the few cases that we've seen since then that related to this or tethering or anything else. So, but yeah, so that's the goal, is to further clarification, some guidelines to give you all some tools, and it not be a hammer or something that's perceived as targeting any specific people, group, neighborhoods, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Comments? Margaret? Yep. Margaret?
When Mr. Brookover came by our clinic last week, we told them that we didn't want to be heavy-handed with this, because most of the problems with dog issues and stuff are basically out in the county. But what I find with municipalities is if there's something, a dog situation, they have the same laws as the county does. And they can enforce the law just like the county does. They don't always need to call animal control unless that animal needs to be picked up, okay? They can handle it. What we want to see is Clemson City start a precedence where it passes in Clemson City, then we can go to Liberty, then we go to 6 Mile and get something started. Because the laws for the animals in South Carolina are terrible. Now he keeps referring back, Chief Campbell keeps referring back to attorney. Well, y'all need to hear from our doctor, what they see. Maybe you have a different attitude about the temperature regulation and everything. They're the professionals, they see what happens. And, it's just like going 56 and a 55. Well, legally, you're speeding. So, but most people give you 10 or 15 over. But, it's common sense. If you ride by a house and you see a water bucket turned over, and the dog's out there panting or laying trying to get some, fresh air or something like that, you don't have to cite them, but you can go in there and say, look, what can we do? You can buy them a plastic swimming pool, put some water in it if they want to get cool, because a lot of people work during the day. You know, they can't bring their animal inside. Use common sense. Have we lost this? Have we lost common sense in law enforcement? Yes. I mean, why do attorneys and all that need to be involved all the time when it's a simple fix? They have a beating heartbeat. And that's what y'all need to think about. Please. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments? Because I got one here I'll read from Elaine, as Bob mentioned earlier. This is from Elaine on 204 Wren Street. Please read, well, she's not in attendance. I'm submitting this in reference to the discussion that we presented by Bob Brookover concerning the adding temperatures to the existing animal abuse ordinance. The reason these temperatures were selected, 28 to 92 degrees, is because at 28 degrees, water and food will be frozen if not attended, and at 92 degrees, water and food will become racist if not attended. The enforcement of these temperatures and the sheltering of pets will be at the discretion of the officer and only serve to be guidance for concern. Providing specific temperatures is no different than placing DUI, speeding, or noise limits. There's no way this can be misconstrued to be targeting a particular demographic because, as we all know, violations of any kind are committed by people across the board. Thank you, Elaine. Any other comments, discussion? Okay. Not? Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you. Next is staff reports. Andy.
Tomorrow night is On the Avenue, and we will not cancel it. No.
Not gonna be too sunny?
Yeah, it might be too sunny. Tomorrow is Public Works Day. If you can, if you're out and about, stop by the Public Works facility. They're having a luncheon for them, then they're going to have a horseshoe contest.
Nice.
Afterwards. And Jeremiah is going to tell you about how Shred Day went.
So we had our annual shred day. I think it went really well, especially considering the weather. The rain ended up holding off, so that was good. We did 11,720 pounds of shredded material, raised $1,580, and 538 pounds of food for Clemson Community Care. Definitely want to thank Troop 161 and Mayor Habecker was out there, Councilmember Duckworth, also from staff, Lindsay and Lauren were also good help. So things went really well.
Thank you. You were the guiding force, so we appreciate you leading the effort. That's it?
That's it.
All right. Next is policy action. Just a reminder, 2-minute limit per speaker. First is consider first reading, of a bond ordinance for the issuance of water and sewer revenue bonds. Andy.
I think I see what I did there.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine.
All right, this here is first reading of our bond ordinance for 3 major utility projects. One is the Clemson wastewater expansion. That borrowing is going to be almost $17,000, and then we have $3 million in here for an automatic read metering system. We're already installing them, but this here will allow us to do it all at one big time. And then we have $8.5 million for the replacement of pump stations 5, 7, and the interceptor that runs between them. We do have a USDA grant out for the pump stations. So this is a worst case scenario, and we hope to know by your second meeting in June the status of that request and some of the others we have. So we're going to take a meeting off intentionally to see if we can get some more funding to apply to these projects.
Questions, comments for Andy? From the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Which one's 5 and 7?
Rick, come on, if you don't mind, come on up, yeah. If you don't mind coming on up. Just like normal, state your name. There you go.
Rick Ware, 100 Holiday West. Which ones are 5 and 7?
5's on College Ave, and 7's the one down here on Tiger Boulevard.
On
Avenue.
123. Okay, on 123. Okay, and 5's down at Bixby.
Yes.
Got it.
Thank you.
No, where's 5?
5 is beside the ESSO Club.
The SO Club, okay.
Thank you, Alan. All right, any other comments, questions? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion, we approve first reading of the supplemental bond ordinance for the issuance of water and sewer revenue bonds as presented.
Second.
Any comments? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Next is to consider first reading of an amendment to Article 3, Section 1373 to allow occupancy violation to be issued to the property manager, person in charge, or resident, not just the property owner. I know Jacob's not here. Nathan, do you want to, or Andy, or you're all looking at each other.
Nobody wants to do
I know, I just.
When was the last time the right name for you guys was
I
on?
know.
It's all good.
I just read it, so you tell me if we need to add anything. I know Jacob made the
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about anything you want, but
So-
this is what it is. It will greatly help my department with enforcement, will help me with times when Honeycutt goes out of the houses and we just can't, it's been frustrating to be in charge of things that we can't truly enforce, so this will help with that.
Appreciate the feedback. Questions, comments?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Comments from the public? Yeah, go ahead.
My only question, and I'm sorry, and Jacob and I have mentioned this last time, is we will still issue a letter and or a ticket to the owner in the mail.
Yeah, we try to run the gamut of everyone.
Okay, I was looking to make
so-
sure that was in there somewhere.
Yeah, usually Honeycutt's knock is not welcome to anyone, a renter, but usually when that happens, they're notified. If there's a property manager agency in town, they're notified, and then the property manager is in certain situations, and this will ensure that that happens every time.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks again. Thank you. Other questions, comments? All right. Yeah, Herb.
Herb Tyler, 143 Folger Street. Should that say and or instead of, because it says property owner or person in charge to ensure tenants are aware of occupancy guidelines. Occupancy violations will be leveled against the property owner, property manager, person in charge, or the resident. So the property, should it be and or? Anyway, just a question.
That's a good call.
Feedback, Michael?
If it were up to me, I would not use and or. I would actually put a comma before the or, and I would put an additional category at the end that said or some combination of the foregoing, or something along those lines. I hate
That
putting
sounds-
it on the fly.
There we go. All right.
That sounds good.
Not a big fan of and or.
Okay. All right.
We were saying the same thing.
Appreciate you both. All right. All right.
That really gives it teeth,
Okay.
what he said.
Any other comments? Would somebody like to make a motion, and hopefully they'll make an amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of an amendment to Article 3, Section 1373D to allow an occupancy violation to be issued as Mr. Kozler just stated.
There you go.
Second.
All right. Other comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Thank you all. Thank you again, Michael. Appreciate it. Other policy items. The first item on this is consider a license agreement with Clemson University for the placement of public safety equipment at 204 West Lane. Andy, again.
All right, this is the water tower facility behind the cat bus facility. And we have some areas in town that don't have great radio coverage because of our hills and things. This here will, well, they're putting these things all over the city in different places on private property too, not just here. But this here is going to eliminate those blind spots. So we have citywide radio coverage, and they'll be able to speak inside or outside of structures.
Questions or comments for Andy? Comments from the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve a license agreement with Clemson University for the placement of safety equipment at 204 West Lane.
Second.
Second. All right. Any comments? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next is mayor, council reports, comments, new business. Open it up.
We attended the jersey retirement for the great names that have come out of Daniel High School. Andy was there, Robert was there. It was fabulous, and congratulations to everybody who was honored. It was well-deserved and a little overdue.
Well said. And you were in high school with some.
I was in high school with some of them, so it's pretty cool to.
That is cool. It was before, they were after my time.
Yes.
That's okay. I know.
Even Jim Sutherland was.
No, Jim was before me, so. But we
Back
did,
in the Pistol
we
Pete
did,
days.
we did answer a question. If you ever go into the gymnasium and you see the picture of T.
right.
Maravich, guess who's shaking his hand?
Jim?
That's right.
It's
I didn't
Jim
know
on one
that.
side.
And I went to Daniel, and I didn't know that until I learned that Saturday night. But
Next
like
time you're
Lily-
in Judge Keller's,
Yeah.
go to the back and
Yes.
ask Leonard or someone there. They've got this great picture of like Pete Maravich and that stuff when they were all kids,
cool.
like, you know, like 12, 13
Yeah.
years old.
His was the first jersey they retired to start the tradition, so it was very nice.
Yeah, and plenty of community members. It was great, great event. Like Lillian just said, wonderful event, wonderful gathering, and well deserved. Long time, took a while, but they got there. So that's the great thing. So other reports, and Alicia was there as well. So.
I received excellent feedback from one of my neighbors who's at Clemson Elementary School from the council member who came and talked on Career Day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Career Day. I got a lot of really fun questions. It was great. And thank you to the first graders. They all wrote me handwritten thank you notes. It was very sweet.
Did they ask you how much you made?
They did not.
They did?
They did not.
Thank you. Bill, all right. Other comments? All right, any new business? All right. If not, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
All right. Did you say third?
Third.
Okay. We don't need a third, but thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, we're adjourned.